What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for rocking with me day after day, week after week. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. Thank you for going to ZamboniFunk.com and getting a reading. Thank you for hitting up my Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and continuing to support this project. Thank you so much to everybody who does that. I so very appreciate you for doing that. Announcement time. I am partnering with Nadia Shah and Synchronicity University. We're going to do a 5-week course in March, beginning in the first week in March, and we're going to talk about how to make astrology useful. So I have been reading astrology for 6 years, and I'm about to hit 10,000 readings. And throughout that time, I've done a lot of readings and had a lot of people ask me questions that are kind of irrelevant or that astrology is not very good at answering. And so this is a course on how to get your most relevant information from astrology. So you can go to Synchronicity University. You can check that out. That's linked up in my stories and all that. Right now, you can pay as little as $5. So that's $1 per class for this 5-week course. So it's pretty dope. Thanks for checking that out. And it's now time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Let's go. So to this week, we have, this looks like a very technologically significant week. One of the main things that we've got going on here is we have Mercury moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. And as Mercury moves into Aquarius, you know who's sitting at 0 degrees of Aquarius? That's right, it's Pluto. So as soon as Mercury moves into Aquarius, then we're going to get a Mercury conjunct Pluto. This is the first Mercury conjunction to Pluto in Aquarius since 250 years ago or some shit like this. So it is kind of a big deal. We are getting into what Pluto in Aquarius really means. So, you know, we've been talking about Pluto in Aquarius. Everybody and their mom has been talking about Pluto in Aquarius for a little while. And we can definitely expect some kind of technological advancement. I mean, this is no prediction at all. You already knew that AI was going to take the world over or whatever, right? We live in the age of information and robots, but Mercury is the planet of communication and information. And I always talk about intelligibility or comprehension, like taking information, just all of the information that exists, and sorting it and making it intelligible. That's Mercury's job, right? Mercury's job is also translation, transportation, transition, all of the like between here and there. That's Mercury's job, right? And so to see that kind of thing coming into relationship with Pluto in Aquarius, and it's Pluto's in Aquarius job to look forward, to think about what is possible in the future and what kind of technological advancement. You know, one of the things that I'm doing this like new podcast thing with my man DB called What If Magic Were Real, right? And one of the things that we talked about in the last episode of that, it was how Pluto in Aquarius is good for the prophetic tradition, and sort of like thinking with the idea that prophecy and the idea of prophecy as like truth telling and as well as future prediction and this kind of thing, that this is some kind of technology that had to be developed at a certain point. Even astrology, for example, didn't always exist, right? It's one of the oldest scientific projects that has ever existed in human history, and the longest running, but it had to be developed. And it turns out that it was developed throughout Pluto and Aquarius periods. And so there's some kind of technological advancement that Pluto and Aquarius is relevant to throughout history and moving forward into the future history that we're moving into now. So to see Mercury, whose job it is to understand things, to translate maybe ones and zeros into things that are intelligible, or taking information that is intelligible to humans and translating that into ones and zeros so that they'll be intelligible for robots. This kind of thing looks like it wants to show up in a big way this week. You know, it's interesting. Mercury is really good in Aquarius. In some traditions, they say that Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. That's not really how I feel about it, but I can definitely acknowledge that Mercury likes the situation in Aquarius for sure. And so seeing Mercury looking strong and powerful, and also, not for nothing, making a square to Jupiter in Taurus as well, right? So whenever we see a planet making a square to Jupiter, then that looks like some kind of confirmation. It looks like some kind of yes, like things want to work or move or happen in some kind of way with whatever's going on there. So Mercury is there with Pluto and making a square to Jupiter. That looks like some kind of important technological advancement that wants to, there are power moves that are going on here, right? And so as such, there's also going to be some kind of play around secret keeping, right? So if you can hoard the information, then you've got more power than the other team has, right? And so a lot of times when we see Pluto and Mercury together, then we get some kind of like reveal. Documents come out and it turns out, oh, these people were involved in such and such a thing or something like this, right? There's some kind of like salacious scandal could come up, something that like underbelly stuff will come out and be broadcast on the news, right? Mercury's the journalist. So we might see something like this going on while, and then there's also a certain kind of, there's a lane for the theory that whenever there's some kind of salacious thing happening in the media, then that is covering something else up, that there's some kind of secret that they don't want you to look at. We can definitely expect this kind of dynamic, both of those things going on here throughout the week this week. I think that this is also particularly interesting because we also have the new moon in Aquarius this week. So the new moon in Aquarius, that's when the sun and the moon are conjunct. That's going to happen at 19 and 20 degrees of Aquarius, which is really interesting because that is immediately square to Uranus, who is at 19 and 20 degrees of Taurus. So Uranus is the planet of, Uranus is frequently associated with technological advancements. And so we've got a new moon in Aquarius there with Pluto and Mercury. So that's techie, right? And then also square to Uranus, that's also techie. And Uranus is also unexpected things, surprising things. Usually there's some kind of pull toward genuine authenticity or liberation in some kind of way. One time I mentioned that Frederick Douglass I've been talking about Frederick Douglass so much this week. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about Frederick Douglass. It's one of my favorite topics. But Frederick Douglass got himself free under a full moon in Pisces, which was conjunct Uranus. So there's something about like breaking free, breakups, breakdowns, breakthroughs, break out, break free. All of this kind of stuff shows up with Uranus, right? And so this is, I think, interesting if we can think back on 20 years or 30 years of Silicon Valley. And the motto there is move fast and break things. That's what Uranus does, right? Is move super fast and break things. And so I would guess that this week we might see some kind of future breaking technology that might want to come out, or some kind of internet breaking media that might want to come out, and there might be some kind of reveal that also conceals something else, or something like this might want to take place. We might see, and so this I think is interesting on the sort of like global mundane political level, but then also as an individual, there's something here about using information to empower one's own situation to, if we're in the sort of like Frederick Douglass space, then we can think about how very important it was for him to learn how to read. Reading is technology, right? Books are technology. And that was a technology that was explicitly kept from slaves, because if they had the power to read, then they would have the power to empower themselves and come out of slavery. And that is, in fact, exactly what happened to Frederick Douglass. He had started to read, and then he heard his master come down super hard on the person who had been teaching him to read, being like, don't let this guy read at all. And then as soon as he heard that, he was like, I have to read so much. And so that sort of like lit a fire in him to go out and learn how to read things, right? And then in grasping that tech, then he became able to break himself free. So there's something here that I think is relevant in our own lives as well, right? How can we take this sort of information landscape that we live in? We live in a moment where the information is maybe more important than it has ever been in human history. And so there's a lot of power here and a lot of things sort of like hanging in the balance and resting on this fulcrum. And we have a moment here where we can shape how this goes, not only on the sort of societal level, but also how it goes in our own lives and our own relationship to technology, to knowledge and information and all the rest. We have an option to be like, no, I don't want to, or we can look into it and see what stares back at us. Interesting times, huh? Go to Zamboni Phone.